Hey guys, tonight we begin in a place colder than any winter you've ever cursed while scraping ice from your windshield. The sun barely rises, its weak light bouncing off endless sheets of ice and snow. You stand there wrapped in furs that itch and stink, but without them, you'd be nothing more than a frozen statue waiting for future archaeologists. The air burns in your lungs, every breath a knife of cold. Honestly, you probably won't survive this, but let's try anyway. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The dawn of the Ice Age is less a sunrise and more a grim sigh of light over a world that is frozen in place. You step out of a hollow, scraped in snow, and ice your body's stiff muscles protesting like a rusted hinge. The ground beneath you crunches a brittle crust of frost over deeper layers of permafrost that never give. The horizon is a jagged stretch of white hills, glaciers stacked like slow-moving walls of glass. The cold rules here. It seeps through fur gnaws at bone and reminds you that you are a small, soft creature in a land built for stone and storm. Even fire, your one fragile ally, sputters and dies if you don't tend it constantly, as if the cold itself takes pleasure in smothering every flame. Nights are longer than your patient's shadows, stretching into near eternity, broken only by the eerie green shimmer of auroras. Imagine falling asleep under that sky, only to wake and realize your eyebrows have frozen together. Still you move, because stopping means death. Your breath plumes out, curling in the air like a ghost escaping. You carry the tools of survival, flint bone, a sharpened spear. But what you really carry is stubbornness, that human refusal to quit even when everything around you says game over. Historians still argue whether your ancestors were pushed into this frozen frontier by hunger or pulled by curiosity, but either way, they walked straight into the cold and refused to leave. And here you are trudging after them. Snow crunches under your bare-boned shoes, little more than leather wrapped around your feet. The wind whistles, slicing through every gap in your clothing. It feels less like weather and more like an opponent, an invisible beast clawing at your skin. Yet as miserable as it is, your eyes catch the glint of light on far-off herds. Mammoths, reindeer, shaggy bison, all moving in slow caravans across the tundra. They are your hope, your enemies, and your dinner. Without them, you starve. You might think, why not just stay home, light a fire, and order delivery? Except home is a fragile structure of hides and bones, a glorified tent huddled against the side of a glacier. And delivery. Unless you count a pack of wolves dropping by. Uninvited, forget it. Out here, every scrap of food is hunted. Every sip of water hacked from ice, every night a gamble between freezing and waking up alive. The cold is merciless, but it sharpens you. It shapes you into a creature who can smell smoke miles away, who can track faint prints across hard snow, who can imagine warmth when the world offers only frost. This dawn, brutal as it feels, is just the opening act of the Ice Age symphony. And you, reluctant hero of survival, are already marching to its frozen rhythm. You stumble forward, lungs stinging, and realize quickly that no one survives the Ice Age in the open. Out here, bare skin is just an invitation for frostbite to bite first and ask questions later. Shelter isn't a luxury. It's the razor-thin line between waking up alive and being found later as a human popsicle. So you and your clan do what humans have always done. Take what nature throws at you and twist it into something that vaguely works. The most famous shelters of this age aren't wooden cabins or stone huts, but monstrous skeletons turned into architecture. Imagine standing beside the rib cage of a woolly mammoth, an animal so enormous that its bones could arch overhead, like the framework of a cathedral. Now picture draping thick hides over those ribs, stitching them together, with sinew, pinning them with tusks. Congratulations, you've just invented the Ice Age version of a family home part tent, part mausoleum, and entirely drafty. Historians still argue whether these mammoth bone houses were common or rare marvels. Some say they were reserved for larger clans along the Dnieper and Don rivers. Others believe every hunter lucky enough to bring down a mammoth left with not only meat, but also building supplies. Either way, archaeologists digging in Ukraine and Siberia have found eerie rings of tusks and jawbones, proof that survival sometimes meant living literally inside the bones of your dinner. It's not as grim as it sounds, at least not when you're desperate. Step inside one of these shelters, and you'll notice the smell, first a potent mix of smoke hides and the lingering ghost of mammoth. The floor is carpeted with straw or rushes layered with furs that still bristle with frost. In the middle lies a fire pit, the smoky heart of the home. Without a chimney, smoke curls and lingers, stinging your eyes until tears run down your cheeks. You cough, you curse, but you'd rather choke on smoke than freeze in silence. And that's the Ice Age compromise. Comfort was never part of the deal. Picture yourself huddled shoulder to shoulder with family, every inch of space packed with people. There's no such thing as personal space. The warmth of another body is worth the smell the snores and the occasional elbow jabbed into your ribs. Privacy. You can forget about that. If you're lucky enough to get a corner of hide to yourself, you guard it like a dragon guards gold. Of course, mammoth bone palaces weren't the only game in town. Not everyone had the muscle or numbers to kill such giants. Sometimes survival demanded creativity on a smaller scale. Families carved niches into cliffs or dug pits into the frozen ground, lining them with branches and hides. Crawl inside one of these burrows, and it's less dream house and more claustrophobic coffin. But the earth above insulates, muting the roar of the wind. You lie there in the dark, listening to the muffled crunch of snow, above praying that a saber-tooth isn't sniffing around your roof. One quirky tidbit: some shelters even use blocks of ice itself. Yes, prehistoric igloos. The irony isn't lost on you. You're hiding from cold inside the very material that's trying to kill you. But snow is a strange friend. Packed tight, it insulates. Inside, it can actually feel warmer than the open air, a fragile bubble of survival in a frozen desert. Imagine curling up under a dome of snow, listening to the howl of blizzards outside, and realizing you've basically been swallowed by winter, but somehow tricked it into keeping you warm. The shelters become more than protection. They become symbols of ingenuity. Standing inside one, you're reminded that humans are soft, hairless creatures that shouldn't be here at all. And yet you've found a way to turn bones into walls, hides into blankets, smoke into warmth, and snow into safety. That's not just survival. It's stubborn artistry. Of course, these shelters had their downsides. The roofs sagged, the hides froze stiff, and scavengers liked to sneak in uninvited. Nothing ruins a night like waking up to a wolf gnawing the same bones you used as furniture. And then there's the ever-present smoke filling your lungs with soot. You might live to see spring, but your lungs are already writing the opening lines of an early obituary. Historians debate whether the average Ice Age human lived long lives, but breathing in campfire 24/7 probably didn't help. Still, these shelters offered something priceless, a chance to dream. Around the fire, shadows danced on mammoth bones, while stories flowed tales of great hunts, of ancestors, of spirits dwelling in the frozen night. Kids giggled under furs, elders muttered wisdom between coughs, and in that cramped space you felt briefly human. The wind might scream outside, the glaciers might creak like angry gods, but in here, inside your fragile fortress of bone and hide, you built something greater than warmth community. Imagine this scene in modern terms. It's the Ice Age equivalent of binge-watching Netflix on a stormy night, except your entertainment is Uncle Rurik telling the same mammoth hunt story for the 50th time. Sure, you'd roll your eyes, but at least you're not outside freezing into an archaeological exhibit. So when dawn comes again, and you push aside the heavy hide flap to step into the white wasteland, you know the truth. The shelter wasn't just a place to rest. It was a victory, however small, against a world determined to crush you. The ice may stretch for miles, the wind may howl like wolves, but as long as you can stitch hides, stack bones, and coax fire, you are not beaten. Not yet. You crouch in the dim shelter, the cold pressing in from every direction, and realize one truth above all: without fire, you don't stand a chance. Fire isn't just warmth. It's salvation, wrapped in flickering orange light. The Ice Age doesn't care about your plans, your family, or your ambitions. Without fire, you are simply meat on ice, waiting to be devoured by frost or beasts. With it, you become something more than prey. You become human. You start with stones. Not just any stones, but flint, the old friend of desperate hands. You hold one in your palm, its edges sharp enough to slice skin and strike it against iron pyrite. Sparks leap out, tiny comets falling onto dry grass moss, or the shredded inner bark you've been hoarding in a pouch. The sparks die more often than they catch. Your fingers ache, your breath clouds, and each failure is a reminder that the cold is patient watching. Then finally, one spark lands just right. It glows, smolders, breathes life. You cup your hands, blowing gently, until smoke curls upward. The ember grows. The bundle crackles. Suddenly flame blossoms, and the darkness retreats by inches. Historians still argue whether early Ice Age humans carried embers from place to place rather than starting fires anew. Some believe clans guarded smoldering branches during migrations, keeping flame alive through rain and snow as if it were a child that must not die. It makes sense. Starting fire in this climate is hard enough once. Do it daily, and you're either a genius or you freeze. Around the fire, life reorganizes. The blaze becomes the center of the world, the pivot around which survival spins. Families huddle close, soaking up heat as if their bones were sponges. Food cooks here, meat seared, until the fat sizzles, roots soften, bitter plants rendered slightly less offensive. Without fire, your diet is a freezer's inventory, raw, frozen, and deadly with parasites. With fire, you turn survival into cuisine, however primitive. The smoke adds its own layer of magic. It curls upward through the cracks in the hides, staining mammoth bones. Black, chasing insects, and discouraging predators with its bitter scent. It also makes your eyes water so badly that you spend half the evening squinting like someone who's just walked into a modern barbecue pit. A price worth paying. And there's light. Never underestimate the psychological comfort of firelight in a world otherwise wrapped in endless dark. The Ice Age nights are long stretching, like an eternity of cold silence. The fire keeps shadows at bay. It paints faces gold and red, turning exhausted hunters into storytellers, tired mothers into goddesses, and even a scrawny child into a flickering hero in the minds of those who watch. One quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found evidence that people deliberately place stones around their fires, not just to contain them, but to heat them up. The rocks absorbed warmth, which could later be carried into sleeping spaces, or even dropped into water-filled pits to cook stews. Imagine your prehistoric ancestor inventing the slow cooker 20,000 years before you burned your first crockpot meal. But fire is fickle. It dies if you neglect it. A sudden gust can snuff it out. A rainstorm can wash it away. Losing your fire in the middle of a freezing night is more than an inconvenience, it's terror. Your clan scrambles, blowing on fading embers, feeding them twigs, begging them to come back. The relief when flames return is so visceral you almost want to worship them. And in fact, many did. Fire wasn't just a tool. It was sacred, a divine presence captured in wood and spark. Historians still argue whether Ice Age humans saw fire as a god or a gift from gods, but either way, they treated it with reverence. You lean closer now, palms extended toward the blaze. The heat bites at your skin, but you welcome it. Your fur's warm, your face glows, and the ache in your chest eases. For a brief moment, you are safe. Outside, the wind howls across the tundra, but it cannot reach you here. Wolves pace at the edges of camp, but they will not cross the ring of light. Somewhere, mammoths shift and trumpet in the distance, but even they seem less monstrous when you have fire at your side. Of course, fire also changes how you think. With light, your clan can stay awake after sunset, using the hours to carve tools, mend clothing, or whisper stories. This is the birthplace of myth. Imagine elders pointing at the sparks, leaping into the dark and saying, "Those are the souls of hunters who walk with us still." Children stare wide-eyed, absorbing lessons that bind the clan together. Fire isn't just survival. It's culture incubating in flame. And then there are the accidents. Fall asleep too close, and you wake up with your hair smoking. Lean in too eagerly, and your hand blisters. Someone inevitably tries to feed the fire, something strange. Resin dung, maybe even bones, just to see what happens. The results vary, from useful discoveries to what we would now call chemical warfare in a poorly ventilated space. Still, experimentation was part of the game. Every new spark, every unexpected flare was a chance to learn how to bend nature without breaking yourself. Think about it this way: fire was the original smartphone. It gathered people, provided entertainment, cooked dinner, and gave light deep into the night. Lose it, and suddenly everything feels impossible. Keep it, and the world seems, if not friendly, at least negotiable. You warm your hands, stare into the flames, and realize this: without fire, your story ends tonight. With it, the Ice Age becomes survivable. Barely. And so you guard it. Always. You feed it wood dung branches, even bits of bone, if nothing else remains. You blow gently on its embers, as if they were children in need of encouragement. Because in a way they are. The fire is your most fragile ally, and without it, you are nothing more than prey, wandering a frozen world. As the flames crackle, sparks rise into the dark, tiny stars, mimicking the endless ones above. For a moment, you feel connected to your clan, to your ancestors, to whatever gods might be watching. Fire has made you more than a creature. It has made you human. And as the night deepens, you curl beside it, letting its warmth fight the cold for just one more hour. You rise at dawn, if dawn can even be called that in the Ice Age. The sun is a pale coin, weak and stingy, barely bothering to climb above the horizon. Your stomach growls like a trapped wolf, reminding you of the endless truth fire keeps you alive, but food keeps you moving. And in this world, the food walks on 4 legs taller than a house tusked like a nightmare. To survive, you hunt giants. The mammoth is no cartoon elephant. It is massive, shaggy, a mountain of meat wrapped in hair and muscle, with tusks that could skewer you like a kebab. One wrong step, and the hunt turns into a funeral. Still, your clan gathers men, women, and even older children, each gripping spears tipped with sharpened stone. The air is sharp in your lungs, and the snow crunches underfoot as you move quietly toward the herds grazing on frost-brittle grass. Historians still argue how Ice Age humans managed to bring down these beasts. Some believe in direct assaults, dozens of hunters swarming with spears, stabbing until the giant finally collapsed. Others point to cleverer methods, driving mammoths into pits marshes or narrow ravines where their size became a liability. The evidence is scattered, like the bones themselves. But one fact remains: somehow against all odds, humans ate mammoth. Picture yourself, crouched behind a ridge, heart pounding, watching the herd. Steam rises from their bodies, clouds of warmth in the frigid air. The calves stick close to their mothers, tusks still small, fur still fluffy. The adults sway, slowly, their breath misting like locomotives. You feel the tension ripple through your clan. This is not just dinner. It's survival for weeks, maybe months. The hides will cover shelters. The bones will become tools. The fat will be fuel. Every part matters. The signal is given. A shout of stone hurled the herd startled into chaos. Mammoths trumpet a thunderous chorus that rattles your ribs. You run forward, spear poised, and realize instantly just how small you are. The ground shakes as hooves pound snow sprays, as tusks swing dangerously close. You dart aside, plunging your weapon into thick fur and skin. It's like stabbing a wall. Blood wells slowly steaming in the air, but the beast keeps moving. You retreat, regroup, attack again. Quirky fact: archaeologists have found sites where hundreds of mammoth bones lie together, suggesting not one hunt, but a series of them, maybe spanning decades. Imagine a cliff where clan after clan herded mammoths to their deaths, a place where the echoes of trumpets and screams lingered long after the bones whitened. Those bone beds are history's freezer aisle, stocked by desperation and strategy. The risk is real. Hunters fall, crushed underfoot. Spears snap, bodies scatter. You feel the terror in your veins, the knowledge that one mistake and you'll be flattened like dough. Yet somehow, humans persist. You chase, harass, bleed the giant until exhaustion wins. Slowly, painfully, the mammoth stumbles, trumpets weakly, and crashes into the snow. The ground trembles. Silence falls except for the rasp of your own breath. The clan erupts not in cheers, but in urgent motion. The work begins immediately, because predators are already watching. Knives of stone carve into the massive body. Hands dig, pull, slice. Blood stains the snow, steaming crimson against the white. The smell is overwhelming, rich and metallic, filling your lungs until you gag. And yet, you keep working. Every strip of meat must be carried dried, smoked. Fat is scooped, bones split for marrow, sinew stripped for thread. It is gruesome, exhausting, but essential. Nothing can be wasted. One scholarly debate lingers: did Ice Age humans overhunt? Some argue that relentless hunting contributed to the extinction of mammoths, pushing them to the edge even before warming climates finished the job. Others insist humans were too few, too scattered to wipe out such vast herds. Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between, that hunger and climate together killed the giants. Either way, you can't think about the future when your present stomach demands meat. You drag heavy bundles back to camp shoulders, aching feet numb. The clan gathers around the kill, dividing dry and cooking. Fires blaze brighter than usual, fueled by fat that sputters and hisses. Tonight you feast. The rich smell of roasting mammoth fills the shelter, smoke curling thick with promise. For the first time in days, you eat until full cheeks, greased fingers, sticky belly warm. For a moment, life feels almost indulgent. And yet, even in the middle of plenty, you feel the edge of fear. Predators circle, drawn by the smell. Wolves howl from the dark. A saber-toothed cat prowls at the tree line, its eyes gleaming, waiting for someone careless. You clutch a burning branch, daring it closer, knowing the line between feast and death is only a flicker of flame away. It's a strange irony. The hunt makes you strong, but it also paints a target on your back. The mammoth gave you food, shelter, and tools, but its death announces to the entire frozen world that you are here, vulnerable and worth testing. Still, as you gnaw on roasted meat, licking your cracked lips, you understand why the risk is worth it. The fire is hotter, the shelter's fuller, the clan closer. For one brief night, the Ice Age feels defeated. Tomorrow hunger will return, storms will howl, and predators will prowl. But tonight, you hunted a giant and lived to tell the story. And in that victory, small as it seems, humanity steps one more inch toward survival. Your belly still remembers the feast, heavy with roasted mammoth. But even as the fire dies down and sleep creeps in, the gnawing thought returns: meat doesn't last forever. You can dry it, smoke it, stash it in pits under the snow, but sooner or later, the food runs out. And when the hunt fails, when mammoths stay out of reach, or wolves chase you away, you turn to the earth itself. Frozen as it is, it still hides bitter gifts. Gathering roots, berries, and plants becomes the difference between holding on and wasting away. You wake at dawn, breath misting in the frigid air, and take up the tools of desperation: a digging stick, fashioned from antler, a crude basket woven from reeds, and your own calloused hands. The ground is hard crusted with frost, but you kneel and scrape, dig, and claw at it. Every root you pull free feels like a victory, however small. Some are fibrous, chewy with all the appeal of damp rope. Others are bitter, making your tongue curl, but they fill your stomach. And in the Ice Age, flavor comes a distant second to survival. Historians still argue over just how much plants mattered in the Ice Age diet. Some claim meat dominated, pointing to cut marks on bones and massive hunting sites. Others argue that women and children gathering roots, nuts, and berries provided the steady base of calories that kept clans alive between hunts. The truth is, probably a mix. Hunters brought the drama, but gatherers brought the daily bread, or rather the daily tuber. Picture yourself pulling up cattail roots from a frozen marsh. They're muddy, stringy, but edible if roasted over fire. Or scraping lichen from rocks, the same pale crust that reindeer chew. You chew it too grimacing, but swallow anyway. Hunger lowers your standards. Even pine bark can be shaved and boiled into something vaguely soup-like. Imagine explaining that at a modern dinner party, tonight's menu is tree bark consommé served with a side of bitter moss. Bon appetit. One quirky tidbit evidence suggests Ice Age humans sometimes ate the stomach contents of hunted animals. Reindeer, for example, could digest lichen and moss that humans couldn't. By eating what the reindeer had already processed, you got nutrients otherwise locked away. It's recycling at its most unappetizing. You might gag at the thought, but remember, you're freezing, starving, and desperate. Suddenly, secondhand salad doesn't sound so bad. You crouch in the brush, scraping at roots, while keeping one ear tuned to the wind. Gathering is dangerous. The best patches of plants lie in low valleys or along streams, places where predators also roam. Wolves hunt here silent and patient. A saber-tooth could be crouched in the snow just beyond sight. You keep your digging stick close, more comfort than weapon. Every crack of ice, every distant snap of wood tightens your chest. Still you keep digging. Hunger is louder than fear. When you return to camp, basket half filled with roots and berries hardened by frost, the clan greets you with relief. The hunters may sneer at your mud-stained hands, but they eat eagerly when the roots are roasted in the fire. You mash some into paste, mixing with fat to form crude cakes. Others you boil in hide-lined pits, filled with hot stones, a makeshift stew that smells earthy and sharp. Children wrinkle their noses, but eat anyway. And here's where fire works. It's double magic again. Not only does it warm, it transforms. Raw roots that were nearly inedible soften into chewy, smoky food. Poisonous compounds break down bitter tastes mellow. You sit by the fire chewing a roasted cattail root and realize it's not delicious, but it is food. You might even joke 5 stars would recommend if you're freezing to death. Historians still debate whether Ice Age humans stored plants for later, much like they did meat. Some archaeological sites hint at pits lined with grasses where roots or nuts might have been cached. Others argue that freezing climates made long-term storage impractical and gathering was always about immediate need. Either way, you know the truth. Every handful counts. Sometimes, though, the earth offers surprises. A patch of wild onions, sharp and pungent, adds flavor to a stew. A bush of frozen berries, sweet despite the cold, feels like treasure. You hold one in your hand, marveling at its tiny perfection in a world of endless white. For a moment you feel rich, but gathering isn't just about calories. It teaches you patience, observation, and knowledge of the land. You learn which plants heal and which kill. A bitter root might soothe fever. A wrong berry might end a life. Elders pass this knowledge down, muttering warnings by the fire, turning trial and error into tradition. Without them, you'd be lost in a frozen pharmacy, swallowing poison by mistake. Modern comparison. Think of it as the world's most brutal grocery shopping trip. No aisles, no checkout, just miles of snow, hidden roots, and the constant risk of becoming prey while you forage. Yet the stakes are higher. At the store, you forget the milk and laugh it off. Here, you forget the right roots and the clan starves. As you lick roasted root from your fingers, staring at the sparks spiraling into the night, you understand hunting makes heroes, but gathering makes survivors. The mammoth might give feasts, but the roots give life in between. In the long silence of the Ice Age, those bitter, stubborn plants are what keep you breathing, trudging and waiting for the next hunt. The fire crackles low, and your belly rumbles again. The roots and scraps you gnawed earlier barely took the edge off. But tonight, as the wind rattles the hides and wolves howl from beyond the firelight, you're reminded of something bigger than hunger. You don't survive this world alone. Out here, in the brutal Ice Age, Survival isn't about the strongest individual. It's about the pack, the clan, the family, the fragile web of bodies and trust that keeps you alive when the cold and the dark try to erase you. You glance around the shelter, the mammoth bones arching like ribs overhead. Every inch of space is filled. Grandparents snoring, children whining, hunters sharpening stone blades. You feel elbows pressed against you, someone's breath on your neck, a baby crying in the corner. Personal space doesn't exist. Your body heat is everyone's body heat. You huddle closer, not because you like each other, but because freezing apart is worse. That's the pack mentality, closeness as necessity, not choice. Historians still argue how large Ice Age clans were. Some estimate a dozen people, others imagine 30 or 40 gathered under mammoth bone roofs or clustered around fire rings. Too many mouths, and the food disappears. Too few and predators or rival groups can overwhelm you. The sweet spot is balance enough hands to hunt enough voices to share stories, enough bodies to hold back the dark. Every member has a role. Hunters risk the spears, their blood warming the snow as they chase mammoths or reindeer. Gatherers dig roots their hands raw from frozen mud. Elders pass down stories and warnings knowledge that's sharper than any flint knife. Children learn by watching mimicking, stumbling through their first attempts at throwing spears or carrying firewood. You might think a child is a liability out here, but in truth, they're hope wrapped in fur. Without them, the pack has no future. One quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found skeletons of Ice Age people who lived long after injuries that should have been fatal. A man with a crushed leg bone, healed but deformed. A child with a twisted spine who grew to adulthood. Alone, they would have died. The fact that they lived means someone fed them, carried them, and cared for them. Compassion wasn't weakness, it was survival strategy. In the Ice Age, kindness literally kept the pack alive. Of course, living shoulder to shoulder breeds tension. You argue over food, over hunting spoils, over whose turn it is to feed the fire. A single mistake, a hoarded root, a forgotten ember can spiral into conflict. Fights break out, fists flying, voices rising, but they almost always cool as quickly as they flare. Anger is dangerous when you need each other. If you exile someone, you've likely condemned them to death. Better to forgive, to grumble under your breath, and keep huddling together. Outside wolves howl again. Their voices rise and fall in eerie harmony, reminding you why the pack matters. You're not the only creatures who understand teamwork. The wolves out there are packs' two sleek bodies moving as one, their breath steaming in the night. Sometimes you see their eyes glint just beyond the firelight, curious, hungry, daring. In a strange way, they're mirrors of yourselves. Family bound by survival, teeth bared at the dark. You almost respect them, even as you clutch your spear tighter. Scholars still debate when wolves shifted from enemy to ally. Did Ice Age humans begin taming pups by accident, stealing them from dens and raising them by the fire? Or did wolves choose humans, lured by scraps and warmth, slowly evolving from threat into companions? No one knows for sure. But it's easy to imagine a child sneaking a bone to a whimpering pup, and that fragile bond becoming the first friendship across species. Out here, every ally counts. The pack mentality extends beyond family too. Sometimes two clans cross paths sharing food stories, or even mates to keep bloodlines strong. The gatherings are tense but vital, a reminder that you are not the only flicker of firelight in a sea of ice. You trade meat for roots, flint for hides, songs for silence. Briefly, the world feels less empty. Then, as always, you part ways, your fire trailing smoke into the endless white. At night, lying shoulder to shoulder, you hear the whispers of dreams. A mother hums to a baby. An elder mutters warnings about spirits of the snow. A child giggles at a shadow thrown by the fire. The shelter smells of smoke, sweat, and fur, but beneath the stench is something fragile comfort. You realize that in this frozen world, survival isn't measured only by what you eat or what hunts you. It's measured by the warmth of others pressed against your side, by the hands that pull you back from despair. Think of it like modern camping, except there's no solo tent option. You're not some rugged lone adventurer with freeze-dried snacks. You're crammed into a mammoth bone hut with 30 of your least hygienic relatives, all snoring and farting in unison. And you love them for it, because without them, you wouldn't last a week. The Ice Age pack mentality is less about harmony and more about survival math. Alone, you are nothing. Together, you are stubborn, clever, loud enough to shout back at the dark. And as you drift off to sleep, the wolves still howling beyond the fire, you understand this simple truth. The cold may be merciless, but it can't break a circle of people bound by warmth and need. The pack keeps you alive. The pack makes you human. The morning frost bites deep, stiffening your furs and freezing the hairs inside your nose until each breath feels like shards of glass. You wake with aching joints, shoulders tight from a night pressed against your clanmates, and one thought gnaws at you stronger than hunger. Survival is impossible without tools. Out here, your teeth are dull, your claws non-existent, your skin soft. Nature built you poorly for a world of ice and tusks. But you have one advantage, the knack for taking stone and shaping it into something sharper, deadlier, smarter. You shuffle to the edge of camp, where flakes of flint scatter the ground like broken glass. Here is your workshop, primitive but essential. You kneel, pick up a core of stone, and strike it with another rock. Chips fly, sharp edges glint. You're not just breaking rocks, you're carving survival into existence. Each flake is a knife, waiting to slice meat, a scraper, waiting to clean hides, a spearhead, begging to pierce mammoth flesh. Without these, you are nothing but a shivering animal. With them, you are a hunter. Historians still argue whether Ice Age people learned these skills through formal teaching or endless trial and error. Some evidence suggests apprentices sat beside elders, mimicking their every strike. Others think it was less romantic, just bash rocks until something sharp falls off and hope you don't slice your hand open in the process. Either way, you learn fast, because a blunt tool out here is as dangerous as no tool at all. Your fingers ache from the cold, but you keep napping, turning stone to edge. The rhythm is steady, strike, chip, turn. A sharp crack when the flake falls just right, a curse when it shatters wrong. You breathe on your hands, warm, them strike again. Slowly, a blade emerges, razor-thin edges gleaming. You press it to your palm, testing. A bead of blood wells up instantly. Good. It's sharp enough. You wipe the blood on your fur, satisfied. Tools are more than weapons. A scraper turns stiff hide into soft clothing, keeping the wind from clawing your skin. A drill, made from bone and flint, punches holes in leather, letting you stitch together garments and shelters. Needles carved from reindeer bone, threaded with sinew. Sofers tight around your ankles, sealing the heat in. Each tool is a step further from helplessness, a step closer to control. Quirky fact, some Ice Age tools were so finely crafted they make modern archaeologists gape. Tiny bladelets, precise and delicate, designed for cutting with surgical efficiency. It's easy to imagine a clan elder squinting in the firelight, crafting the perfect point, while muttering about how kids, these days, don't make tools like they used to. Even in the Ice Age, there were probably grumblers who thought the new tech was overrated. Your clan depends on this technology. Hunters gather around testing spear tips, attaching them to shafts with resin and sinew. A young boy learns by watching fumbling with the sharp flakes until he cuts his finger. He yelps, blood dripping, but no one scolds him. That cut is his first lesson in respect the stone is friend and foe. You remember your own first cut, the sting still vivid. Everyone carries these scars badges of learning. Historians still argue whether tool innovation spread quickly between groups or crawled slowly across generations. Did clans trade ideas along with hides and roots? Or did each group reinvent the wheel well? The spear tip, over and over archaeological sites, hint at both sudden bursts of new designs, then centuries of stubborn repetition. It seems humans were as inconsistent back then as now, sometimes brilliant, sometimes hopelessly stuck in tradition. Stone tools change how you see the world. A mammoth isn't just a monster anymore. It's a walking warehouse of meat, hide, bone, and tusk waiting to be taken apart with the right edges. A reindeer carcass isn't a struggle. It's a puzzle solved by blade and scraper. Even plants yield differently, under sharp stone roots, peeled and sliced with ease. Your tools carve life from death, shaping every object into something useful. But tools also reshape how you think. With them, you begin to imagine possibilities. If a sharper edge makes hunting easier, what about a longer spear? If a scraper softens hides, what about a sewing needle to stitch them? Every improvement sparks another. Innovation becomes survival's secret partner, whispering in your ear each time you strike stone against stone. At night, sitting by the fire, you study your blades, turning them in the flickering light. You see more than weapons. You see future hunts, warmer clothing, safer shelters. You see the difference between waking tomorrow and freezing tonight. And you realize tools aren't just objects. They are extensions of your will proof that your mind can bend the harsh world into something survivable. Modern comparison. Think of it like having Wi-Fi in a snowstorm. Without it, you're cut off, fumbling hopeless. With it, suddenly everything works. Stone tools were the Wi-Fi of the Ice Age connection function survival. And just like Wi-Fi, they break at the worst possible moment, usually right when you need them most. You tuck your newest blade into a pouch, sharp edges wrapped in hide to keep from cutting through everything. The work isn't glamorous. No one sings songs about the scraper maker or the flint napper. But without you, the hunters starve, the gatherers freeze, the pack falls apart. The tools are invisible heroes, every bit as vital as fire or food. As you close your eyes that night, the sound of stone striking stone lingers in your ears, a rhythm as steady as your heartbeat. Tomorrow, you'll strike again, shaping new edges, chasing sharper dreams. Because in the Ice Age, survival is carved chip by chip, flake by flake, into the bones of stone. The storm has passed, leaving the world glazed in a cruel brightness. Snow stretches to the horizon, dazzling under pale sunlight, and every step you take sinks with a muffled crunch. The clan is restless. Your stores of mammoth meat are dwindling. The roots gathered last week are gone, and children whimper with hollow bellies. There's only one solution: follow the herds. Out here, survival means becoming a detective of the snow-reading signs that vanish with the next gust of wind. Tracking footprints is not just a skill, it's the thin thread between life and death. You kneel squinting at the ground. There, half buried in drift, are the prints. Huge, rounded, pressed, deep mammoth tracks. Your fingers trace the edges, feeling the sharp crust where the animal's weight cracked the snow. Beside them, smaller, lighter impressions, reindeer maybe. Their hooves cut sharper lines. A few paw prints, too, circling like punctuation marks, wolves shadowing the herd, waiting for weakness. The snow is a book, and you learn to read it faster than any scholar. Historians still argue whether Ice Age hunters tracked mostly by sight or by broader environmental cues. Some believe they followed scat-broken branches or the smell of musk on the wind. Others argue that clans developed astonishing eyesight, able to spot distant movement across miles of white. Perhaps both are true, every sense sharpened, every detail memorized. Out here, failure to notice means starvation. You rise point to the tracks, and the hunters nod. Spears are checked. Furs tighten stomachs growling. The clan moves feet, falling into the prints of those before them, a silent line against the horizon. Hours pass. Snow bites at your eyes. Wind gnaws your cheeks. But the prints pull you forward. Sometimes they vanish under drifts, and you halt scanning the horizon. A broken twig, a tuft of hair snagged on ice, a faint scent carried on the wind, all become clues. You press onward, patient, relentless. Quirky fact: archaeologists once uncovered a trail of footprints preserved for millennia in hardened mud, showing an Ice Age mother carrying a child across a dangerous stretch. The prints reveal pauses, shifts of weight, even moments where she set the child down, then picked it up again. Tracking works both ways. You follow animals, but one day someone might follow your prints, reading your struggles in the ground you leave behind. Hours stretch into exhaustion. Your feet ache, the cold seeps into your bones, and doubt gnaws. What if the herd turned? What if the wolves got there first? Each step feels like a gamble. But then, in the distance, a smudge moves across the snow. At first, it's nothing but a mirage, a blur of shapes. Then slowly, the herd emerges, shaggy mammoths, reindeer, bison, trudging in a line. Relief floods your chest. The trail worked, but the chase isn't over. You shadow them for miles, staying downwind, using terrain as cover. The herd pauses to graze on scrub poking through the snow, and you creep closer, noting which animals limp, which calves lag behind. The clan whispers, arguments rising, attack now or wait. The decision hangs heavy, for one mistake costs lives. Tracking is more than following. It's predicting. You study the herd, imagining where it will go next, toward the river, maybe where the snow is thinner. You glance at the sky, gauging the clouds. A storm looms. If it breaks, the tracks vanish. Time presses like a blade against your throat. Historians still debate whether Ice Age hunters thought of tracking as science instinct or something spiritual. Some argue shamans led hunts, claiming to see the herd's path in visions. Others insist hunters honed their skills through generations of practice. Whatever the truth, you feel it now, a strange connection to the earth, as if each print pulses with meaning. You're not just chasing animals, you're chasing survival itself. At camp, gatherers wait nervously, tending fires, children clinging to their sides. They know that if you return, empty-handed, hunger sharpens into despair. You feel their eyes, even out here, the weight of their need pressing your shoulders. It drives you forward step after step, refusing to quit. A modern comparison. Think of it like GPS, except the satellites are mammoth feet, and the signal gets wiped every time it snows. You squint at the ground, muttering, recalculating route every time the tracks vanish. Only here, a wrong turn means starvation, not being late for dinner. As night falls, the herd beds down their bulk, forming a dark wall against the white. You crouch with the hunters, the fire of hunger burning hotter than any camp blaze. Tomorrow you'll strike. Tonight you huddle in the snow, listening to the low rumbles of giants grateful that footprints brought you here. The Ice Age is merciless, but in its silence, it leaves a trail. And as long as you can follow it, patient, observant, stubborn, you carve another day out of the frozen world. The herd does not stay still for long. Even as you crouch in the snow, watching their shaggy backs rise and fall with sleep, you know that tomorrow they'll be gone trudging towards some unseen promise of food and safety, and so will you. In the Ice Age, life is migration. The land is too cold, too stingy, too restless to let anyone settle for long. To survive, you must walk. Always walk. You rise before the sun pack slung over your shoulder feet already sore before you've taken a single step. The clan gathers hunters with spears, gatherers with baskets, children perched on hips, elders leaning on sticks. It's not a march of warriors. It's a shuffle of the desperate. Smoke from the last fire curls behind you, fading as you step into the white unknown. That faint plume is your past. Ahead lies only the promise of tracks to follow. Historians still argue about the scale of these migrations. Some evidence shows clans roamed hundreds of miles in a year, chasing herds across tundra and steppe. Others believe movements were smaller, circling familiar valleys, rivers, and caves. Either way, the truth is clear: no one stood still. To stop moving was to starve. Your feet sink deep into the snow, every step dragging. The air cuts your lungs, the horizon never shifts. Hours pass, and you start to lose sense of time. The world becomes an endless loop crunch, crunch, breath. The children whimper, elders stumble. Hunters grunt as they take turns breaking trail. Each footprint you press into the snow becomes both a burden and a lifeline, marking the clan's fragile thread across the frozen world. Quirky fact: archaeologists have traced migration routes by finding repeating campsites, rings of mammoth bones, charred fire pits, and tool fragments scattered like breadcrumbs. Some sites show families returned year after year, proof that even in a world of constant movement, there were places that felt like home, if only briefly. Along the way, hunger claws again. You pause to scrape lichen off rocks, to dig up frozen roots, to gnaw dried strips of mammoth flesh until your jaw aches. Each bite is a reminder that food never lasts, only buys time. Water is snow, melted in hide bags, drunk lukewarm, leaving your lips cracked and your teeth aching. But migration isn't only about hunger. It's about danger. The farther you walk, the more threats appear. Rival clans may cross your path, their firelight flickering on distant ridges. Some meetings are cautious exchanges, meat traded for flint roots, swapped for hides. Others end with spears. Raised voices sharp, the tension thick as smoke. You never know whether the next human face you see will offer help or death. Then there are the predators. Wolves shadow your group, their howls rising at dusk. You see saber-tooths, sometimes low shapes, against the snow eyes burning like coals. They are migrants, too, following the herds following you. It's a brutal truth: you are not the only pack wandering. Everyone out here is hungry. One scholarly debate: did migration during the Ice Age spread humans across continents? Evidence shows that in these long treks, clans eventually pushed out of Africa into Europe, Asia, even across land bridges into the Americas. Every tired footstep you take here echoes in history, laying the path for future generations. To you, it feels like endless suffering. To the world, it is expansion. Night falls. The clan halts too exhausted to continue. You scrape snow into a shallow pit, line it with branches, and huddle inside your breath, freezing against your furs. The hunters spark a small fire, smoke stinging your eyes, warmth barely reaching your toes. The children whimper, the elders wheeze, but slowly the murmurs of the clan fade into sleep. Above the stars, blaze cold, and countless indifferent to your march. In moments like this, migration feels less like survival and more like punishment. Step after step, day after day, the land offering nothing but more horizon. And yet beneath the exhaustion, there's a strange rhythm to it. Walking becomes prayer. Each crunch of snow underfoot is a promise we're still here. Each mile is defiance against the ice that wants you buried. Modern comparison. Think of it as the world's longest road trip, except there's no car, no gas stations, no playlists, just blistered feet, crying kids, and the occasional mammoth sighting to break the monotony. And yes, you can ask, are we there yet? Because the answer is always the same, no. By dawn, the clan rises again, shoulders stooped, faces drawn, and begins to walk once more. The journey is endless, but that's the point. To migrate is to live. To stop is to die. As you trudge onward, the horizon unchanged, you feel both despair and determination twisting together in your chest. This is the Ice Age bargain. The land will never give you rest, only miles. And as long as you keep walking, as long as your footprints stretch behind you, the story of your people continues. The clan trudges on until the land itself stops you. A wide river lies frozen before your eyes, stretching like a silver blade through the tundra. Its surface glitters in the pale sun, cracked here and there by black seams of water. You pause, breath steaming, staring at the barrier. In the Ice Age, rivers are both highways and death traps. Cross them, and you might save weeks of walking. Misstep, and the ice swallows you whole. You test the surface with your spear, pressing down until the wood bends. The ice groans, but holds. Still, you know better than to trust appearances. One wrong step, and the crust will split, plunging you into water so cold it burns. The clan murmurs nervously behind you. Children tugging at mothers, elders leaning on sticks, hunters shifting uneasily. The decision is yours. Do you risk the crossing or follow the river for days in search of a safer place? Historians still argue how Ice Age people managed these crossings. Some suggest they built crude rafts of logs and hides pushing across with poles. Others believe they relied on winter freezes, stepping cautiously over the ice with tools ready to haul someone out if disaster struck. Either way, the river demanded courage and ingenuity in equal measure. You step forward slowly, the world holding its breath. Each crunch of your foot echoes in the silence. The ice flexes beneath your weight, a low groan rumbling like a predator in its sleep. Your heart pounds, but you keep moving, signaling for the clan to follow. Behind you, a line of figures creeps across the frozen surface, each one praying silently to spirits of water and sky. Halfway across, disaster nearly comes. A crack splinters under an elder's foot, spreading in jagged lines. The sound is sharp like a spear snapping. The elder freezes terror in his eyes. Hunters rush forward, hauling him up, urging him to move faster. The clan holds its breath as the ice shudders, but by some miracle, it holds. The elder stumbles onward, pale but alive. The pack mentality saves him once again. Quirky fact, in some Ice Age sites, archaeologists have found bones of animals preserved at river crossings, suggesting hunts took place on the ice itself. Imagine a mammoth trapped mid-river, too heavy for the surface, crashing through into icy death. For the hunters, it was both gruesome and convenient meat delivered straight into a watery pit preserved by the cold, nature's freezer. You make it to the far bank, collapsing onto the snow with relief. The clan follows one by one until all are safe. Cheers rise quiet, but heartfelt breath puffing in white clouds. You survived the crossing. For now. But rivers aren't just obstacles. They're also lifelines. In warmer months, the waters teem with fish silver bodies flashing under the surface. Even now, in the dead of winter, some pockets of water remain open, where ice is thin and current strong. Hunters cut holes with stone axes, lowering hooks made of bone or spears tipped with sharpened antler. You wait in silence, watching for the flicker of movement. Then flash, a fish darts close. With one swift thrust, you spear it, hauling it into the air. It wriggles frantically, scales glittering like stars. The clan cheers again. One fish isn't much, but it's proof that rivers provide. Historians still debate how much Ice Age people relied on fishing. Some say it was secondary to hunting megafauna. Others argue it was vital, especially during lean winters. Fish bones found at campfires suggest it wasn't just mammoths that filled bellies. Perhaps rivers were the unsung saviors, their bounty quiet but steady. Of course, the river isn't always generous. Sometimes you wait for hours, feet numb, hands shaking, only to pull up nothing but broken ice. Sometimes predators lurk nearby, wolves sniffing the edges. Or worse, a saber-tooth crouched on the far bank, watching your every move. You grip your spear tighter, knowing that one slip on the slick surface could turn you into prey. Modern comparison. Think of it like commuting across a busy highway every day. Sometimes you make it safely. Sometimes you get caught in traffic, and sometimes you nearly die. Except here, the traffic is ice, and the punishment for failure is a watery grave at sub-zero temperatures. No second chances. As night falls, you light a fire near the riverbank, its smoke curling against the dark sky. You roast the fish you caught, sharing thin strips with the children, their faces glowing in the flicker. The river hums softly nearby ice, shifting and cracking, with the sound of distant drums. You lie awake listening, reminded that the water is both enemy and ally. It can swallow you in a heartbeat, or feed you when all else fails. Crossing frozen rivers teaches you one thing: survival is never certain, only borrowed. Every step on the ice is a gamble. Every fish speared is a gift. You close your eyes, warmed by the fire, knowing that tomorrow the clan will walk again. More rivers wait. More ice groans underfoot. And as long as you keep crossing, you keep living. The night grows heavy, pressing on your shoulders like the weight of a glacier. The fire flickers low, and though your belly is half filled with roasted fish, your nerves twitch with unease. Beyond the glow of the flames, the tundra stretches black and endless, a stage where unseen eyes glimmer. You're not alone. In the Ice Age, the dark is never empty. Predators move out there. Wolves, saber-tooth, cats, cave lions drawn by the smell of smoke meat and human warmth. You clutch a spear, listening. The silence is deceptive. One moment the night is still, the next it ripples with sound, a low growl, the crunch of snow, the sudden rise of howls. Wolves call to one another across the plain, voices weaving like threads. It raises the hair on your arms, yet it's familiar. Wolves have shadowed your kind for as long as you've walked the tundra. They are both rivals and teachers their pack, reflecting your own. You know their game. They test the edges of your camp, circling, waiting for weakness. Historians still debate when wolves became allies rather than enemies. Some argue that humans stole their pups, raising them in camp until they lost fear of fire. Others claim wolves chose humans drawn by scraps and protection. Either way, tonight they are no friends. Their howls send children trembling against their mothers. The hunters raise spears, raised firebrands, lifted. Flames are your shield, the only wall between predator and prey. Then comes a deeper sound, a rumble like stone grinding. Your blood chills. It's not wolves. At the edge of firelight, a shape moves, low muscular fangs gleaming like ivory daggers. A saber-toothed cat, larger than any lion you've ever imagined. It crouches, muscles, coiled golden eyes fixed on your camp. The fire pops, and for a heartbeat, the cat vanishes into shadow. Every muscle in your body screams at you to flee, but you grip the spear tighter. Running isn't an option. Out here, the only defense is defiance. Quirky fact, some Ice Age cave paintings show humans and large cats together, whether as enemies, rivals, or symbols of fear. Archaeologists still argue whether early humans hunted saber-tooths or only feared them. The truth may be both. Some bones show cut marks, proof of meat scavenged or fur taken. Others suggest humans kept their distance, wary of becoming the meal instead of the hunter. The clan moves as one. Hunters spread in a line, firebrands raised, sparks swirling in the air. Children huddle close to mother's elders, muttering prayers under their breath. The cat circles, tail twitching, growl low and steady. Every step it takes is silent, deliberate, predatory. You lunge forward suddenly, thrusting your spear into the dark, shouting with every ounce of breath. The sound startles the cat, halting its approach. The fire flares, and for a moment predator and human lock eyes. It's a standoff carved into time. Minutes pass, though they feel like hours. The cat finally turns, melting into the darkness. The wolves howl again, as if mocking your small victory. Relief ripples through the camp, but no one relaxes. You know it will return. If not tonight, then another night. Predators do not forget easy prey. Historians still argue whether predators shaped human behavior more than the climate itself. Some believe constant danger forced clans to develop cooperation, weaponry, and strategy. Others argue the threat was exaggerated, that humans learned to live alongside predators, competing but rarely colliding. Whatever the case, you feel the truth in your bones. Without predators, you'd never have learned to stand together. Fear taught you unity. The camp slowly settles, though sleep comes fitfully. Every crack of wood, every shift of wind sounds like an approach. You imagine eyes glowing just beyond the firelight, watching, waiting. You pull a fur tighter around your shoulders, forcing yourself to breathe slowly. The dark presses closer, heavy with unseen teeth. Modern comparison. Think of it like living in a neighborhood where bears, tigers, and wolves all roam freely, and your only home security system is a campfire and a sharpened stick. Sure, you feel safer, with the light flickering, but deep down you know it's the predator's world. You're just borrowing space in it. By dawn, the danger ebbs. The wolves slink away, the saber-tooth does not return, and the world brightens to a pale gray. Children laugh nervously, mimicking growls and pretending bravery. Hunters shake their heads, muttering about close calls. Life goes on, but the memory lingers. Each night, predators remind you that you are not the rulers of this land. You are simply tenants scratching survival in a world owned by fangs and claws. And yet you endure. Fire still burns, the clan still breathes, and your footprints stretch further into the ice. You rise spear in hand and prepare to march again. The predators will return, but so will you. The danger of the night fades with the dawn, but silence lingers. The clan trudges on eyes, tired bodies stiff, and even the children's laughter feels thin. Survival is a drumbeat steady and harsh, but a life of only hunger and fear would grind spirits into dust. That's why your people invent something else, something strange, fragile, and utterly human music. In the Ice Age, sound becomes more than noise. It becomes survival of the soul. You've seen it before. At the heart of camp, while hunters sharpen blades and mothers stitch hides, someone picks up a hollow bone, carves small holes along its side, and lifts it to their lips. A high trembling note spills into the air. It is thin quivering, like ice cracking on a lake, but it carries across the snow. Children lift their heads. Elders smile faintly. For a moment, hunger loosens its grip. Historians still argue about the oldest instruments. The most famous are bone flutes carved from bird bones or mammoth ivory dating back tens of thousands of years. Some say they were toys for children. Others say they carried spiritual weight songs to summon animals or to honor spirits of the hunt. But anyone who's felt that cold silence knows the truth. Music keeps you from breaking. You sit near the fire watching as the flute player's breath fogs in the air. Fingers dance clumsily, but the notes weave something larger than skill. They rise and fall a tune, with no words echoing across the plain. The hunters pause their work tapping spears in rhythm. A mother hums along, rocking her child. For once, the night doesn't feel like a predator lurking just beyond sight. It feels like a stage. Quirky fact, archaeologists have even suggested that Ice Age caves, with their deep chambers and strange echoes, may have been chosen for ceremonies not just for art, but for sound. Imagine chanting in the dark, the walls, throwing your voice back, as if spirits were singing with you. Your ancestors weren't only painters. They were performers, their concerts etched in stone and air alike. You pick up a bone drum, next a stretched hide pulled taut over a frame of wood and sinew. With numb fingers, you beat a rhythm, steady and slow. Thump, thump, thump. The fire seems to pulse in time. The clan joins in, clapping, stomping voices rising. Soon the camp is alive with sound, everybody moving, even if only to sway. The wolves in the distance fall silent, perhaps confused, perhaps wary. For once, it feels like you are the hunters, and the night itself is your prey. But music is more than defiance. It's memory. The elders hum old songs, fragments passed down across generations. They sing of herds long gone, of rivers that froze solid, of hunts that ended in triumph or tragedy. The words are half forgotten, but the rhythm carries. The children listen eyes wide, absorbing not just melody, but history. In a world without writing songs are the books, the libraries, the whispered archives of survival. Scholars still debate whether music was ritual or entertainment. Was the bone flute a shaman's tool, a way to reach spirits, or simply a way to soothe restless children? The truth is probably both. Humans rarely separate survival from meaning. A lullaby calms a baby, but it also reassures the mother. A hunting song sharpens courage, but it also binds the group in shared purpose. Out here, the difference doesn't matter. What matters is that music works. Your breath fogs as you try the flute yourself. The note wavers, breaks, then steadies. It's clumsy, laughable even, but the others grin. A child claps for you, delighted. You bow dramatically as if you've played for kings, and the camp bursts into laughter. Humor rolls like warmth through the group. For a moment, you forget the hunger, the predators, the endless march. You remember only that you are alive and you are not alone. Modern comparison. Think of it like karaoke during a power outage. The lights are gone, the cold creeps in, but someone pulls out a guitar or just their voice, and suddenly the darkness doesn't feel so heavy. Music is humanity's oldest trick against despair. And in the Ice Age, it's the only playlist available. The night deepens. The fire glows low, but the songs linger, humming softly, even as sleep claims the clan. You close your eyes, flute, still warm in your hand, and feel the echoes vibrating in your chest. Tomorrow, the hunger will return, the predators will stalk, the ice will not relent. But tonight, you drift off, with music in your ears, a fragile shield against the silence. The Ice Age may own the land, but for a few precious moments, you own the sound. And that is enough to carry you into another dawn. The fire burns low embers glowing red, like eyes half asleep. Around it, the clan huddles close shoulders, brushing the air thick with smoke and the faint smell of roasted marrow. The day has been long, another march across snow and wind, another struggle against hunger. Yet in this circle of warmth, something begins that is as old as survival itself: storytelling. A child tugs at an elder's sleeve wide-eyed. Tell one, the child whispers. The elder clears his throat, his voice gravelly as stones grinding in the river. And then it begins. Words spill into the air, twisting with the smoke-shaping worlds, larger than the frozen tundra outside. The Ice Age is harsh, but in the glow of firelight, stories turn it into something more than struggle. Historians still argue about when language became complex enough for true tales. Some believe it happened tens of thousands of years earlier. Others say it blossomed with these very Ice Age clans. But what's clear is that stories mattered. They weren't just entertainment. They were maps, warnings, lessons, hidden in rhythm and metaphor. A tale about a hero hunting a great mammoth might really be a guide to reading tracks, to patience, to bravery. The elder raises a hand, his shadow huge on the mammoth bone walls. He tells of a time when animals spoke, when the sun refused to rise, when spirits lived in caves. His words weave fear and wonder together. Children lean closer, eyes shining. Adults nod, murmuring agreement. You feel the story wrapping around you like another layer of fur, soft but strong. Quirky fact: in caves across Europe, archaeologists have found handprints, paintings and carvings that seem to echo these stories. Scenes of hunts, of strange half-animal figures, of fire and stars. Were they illustrations of tales told by firelight, or were the stories born from the paintings themselves? Scholars still debate, but one thing is sure: humans never just lived in the world, they narrated it. The tale grows darker. The elder describes a hunter who defied the spirits who mocked the mammoth he killed. That night, the ice cracked beneath him, swallowing him whole. The clan shudders, children clutching mothers tighter. The lesson is clear: respect. The hunt, respect the land or be punished. In a place where mistakes mean death, stories are survival manuals dressed in drama. But not all stories are grim. Another elder chimes in, voice lighter, spinning a tale of a trickster hare who outsmarted a lion, stealing meat from its jaws. Laughter bubbles around the fire hunters, chuckling, children giggling. You smile despite yourself. The trickster is foolish, But he always wins, and in his victory, you see your own hope. Small, fragile humans outwitting giants. The fire pops, sparks leaping into the dark. Someone adds another log, and the circle glows brighter. Now it's your turn. The clan nudges you forward, urging you to speak. Your heart thuds, but you clear your throat and begin. Your story is clumsy, but you've heard enough to know the rhythm, the slow beginning, the rising danger, the twist, the lesson. You tell of a wolf who followed a clan for days, waiting for weakness, only to be tricked into chasing his own tail until he fell asleep. The children laugh, the adults clap. For a moment, you feel the pride of the elders. Historians still argue whether these stories carried spiritual weight, whether shamans wove them into rituals, or whether they were simple entertainment. But to you, sitting in the fire's glow, the distinction doesn't matter. The story has power. It holds the clan together, binds your fears, distracts from hunger, teaches without lecturing. In the endless dark stories are light, modern comparison. Think of it like a Netflix binge around a campfire, except the screen is a wrinkled elder's face. The plot twists are mammoth related, and the cliffhangers are literally about cliffs. And unlike Netflix, the subscription here is free, though it does require surviving the Ice Age to keep listening. The night deepens. The fire crackles. Voices soften, and the last story drifts into silence. Children nod off heads on lapsed dreams already blending with the tales they just heard. Elders close their eyes, lips still moving, as if whispering to unseen listeners. You lie back, staring at the stars through the smoke hole in the roof, and realize that tomorrow will bring the same cold, the same hunger, the same march. But tonight, the firelight gave you more than warmth. It gave you meaning. The Ice Age will try to erase you with frost and teeth and endless miles. But as long as stories survive echoing in caves, carried in songs whispered by firelight, you will not be erased. You are more than bones. You are memory made into words. The march across the snow finally brings you to a cave, its mouth yawning black against a white cliff. Relief floods. The clan here is shelter from the wind, a place to build fire, a roof of stone instead of sky. But inside, past the smoke and flickering torches, something greater waits. Walls alive with color. The cave is not just a shelter. It is a canvas. You step into the dim chamber torchlight, pushing shadows across rough stone. At first, the lines seem random, smears of ochre, scratches of charcoal. Then your eyes adjust, and the walls transform. Mammoths charge across the rock, bison thunder, in lines reindeer leap mid-stride. The animals move, even though they stand still alive in strokes of red, black, and yellow. The cave is a frozen hunt captured forever. Historians still argue about the purpose of these paintings. Were they spiritual rituals summoning animals before a hunt? Were they lessons for the young teaching which creatures to follow and which to fear? Or were they simply art born of the same restless creativity that makes you carve music from bone? The debate continues, but one truth is certain: humans could not resist leaving marks behind. You watch as a hunter kneels by the wall, grinding pigment with a stone, mixing it with spit and fat. His hands are stained red, his face smudged black. He presses his palm to the rock, leaving a print. Then another. A row of hands blooms across the stone, ghostly signatures, proof that we were here. The firelight flickers, and for a moment you feel as if the wall itself is breathing alive with voices of the past. Quirky fact: some caves show not just animals, but strange figures, half human, half beast creatures with horns or wings. Scholars call them shamans, symbols of transformation. Were they visions seen in trance, or warnings, or myths? No one knows. But staring at them, you feel a shiver that isn't from the cold. The walls whisper mysteries that stretch beyond survival. The children squeal with delight, tracing the lines with small fingers. Hunters nod, pointing out details: the curve of a tusk, the tilt of a bison's head. It's not just decoration, it's instruction. Strike here, one elder says, tapping the painted flank of a mammoth. Wait for this moment. Another adds, pointing to a crouching hunter sketch below. The wall is both art and manual teaching without words. Then the stories begin. The paintings aren't silent. They spark memory. Elders retell hunts long past victories won, mistakes made. One recalls a bison that gored his brother, another a reindeer that slipped into the river. Each tale flows from the walls as though the animals themselves command the telling. The cave becomes a library, each figure a page. Historians still debate whether children were allowed into these painted chambers or if they were reserved for rituals. Some caves are deep hidden, accessible only by crawling through narrow passages. Others are broad open, filled with soot from many fires. Perhaps some chambers were sacred, others communal. Either way, the presence of the paintings means that survival was never just about eating and sleeping. It was about remembering, imagining, explaining. Your hand hovers near the wall. You want to add something, a line, a shape, a sign of your existence. But hesitation grips you. These are not mere doodles. They carry weight, meaning. At last, you press your palm against the stone, fingers spread, then blow pigment across it. When you lift your hand, the outline remains stark and human. For the first time, you feel part of something larger than the march of hunger. You have left a mark. Modern comparison. It's like graffiti on a subway wall, except instead of "Josh was here" in spray paint, its clan survived winter in ochre. And unlike graffiti, these marks last not for weeks, but for thousands of years, waiting for strangers with flashlights and notebooks to argue about them in dusty lecture halls. The fire crackles, smoke curling to the ceiling. Shadows of painted animals dance across the walls, merging with the real humans sitting in their glow. For a brief moment, the barrier between past and present dissolves. You can almost believe that the mammoths breathe, that the bison snort, that the reindeer leap. The hunters watch with awe, children giggle nervously, and you sit transfixed. When sleep comes, you curl against the stone floor, the painted herd galloping above you. The cave walls hum with memory, a chorus of ancestors singing in silence. Tomorrow, the clan will march again, chasing food across frozen miles. But tonight, within this stone gallery, you feel immortal. Even if your body freezes and your footprints vanish, your handprint will remain. A whisper across millennia you lived. The cave walls still glow in your memory when the clan wakes, but the hunger in everyone's eyes is sharper than art. The mammoth hunt cannot wait. Tracks spotted days earlier have grown fresher. The time has come to face the giants of the Ice Age head-on. For generations, mammoths have been the lifeblood of survival, massive bodies that feed, clothe, and arm entire clans. To bring one down is triumph. To fail is ruin. The hunters gather at dawn, spears tipped with flint shafts, bound with sinew. The air burns your lungs with each breath, the ground stiff with frost. Children and elders remain behind, tending fires and whispering prayers. You march with the hunters across the tundra, your feet falling in rhythm anticipation heavy as stone. Ahead, the horizon quivers with movement, dark shapes, lumbering tusks, curving like white moons. The mammoths are near. Historians still argue about hunting strategies. Some believe humans used sheer force swarming mammoths with volleys of spears. Others argue they relied on cunning driving beasts into traps pits or over cliffs. Both methods have scars in the earth to prove them. Kill sites littered with bones, piles of tusks, charred marrow cracked for its fat. The truth is likely both. Desperation breeds creativity. You crouch low in the snow watching the herd. Their breath clouds the air, their shaggy coats ripple in the wind. Calves shuffle close to their mothers, tusks gleaming. The sheer size of them makes your heart hammer. One wrong move and you will be trampled bones crushed into red pulp. But hesitation is as deadly as recklessness. The clan whispers. The plan forms: isolate one mammoth, a weaker bull trailing the herd, drive it toward a gully where the ground is uneven. They surround and strike. The hunters fan out fire in their eyes. You grip your spear tighter, palms slick with sweat despite the cold. Then the signal comes. A sharp cry, a stone hurled, and the chase begins. Hunters leap from hiding, shouting, waving torches, driving the herd into panic. The earth shakes with the thunder of feet snow exploding in clouds. The chosen bull stumbles, separated eyes wide with fury. Its trumpet splits the sky, a sound that rattles your chest. The hunters close in spears flashing. Quirky fact, some archaeological sites show that even after a successful kill, mammoths could fight back, impaling hunters on their tusks or crushing them in death throes. These hunts were never guaranteed victories, they were desperate gambles. To face a mammoth was to step into the jaws of fate. You dart forward, heart hammering. The bull swings its tusks, gouging the air, snapping trees like twigs. A hunter is tossed aside, his scream cut short. Fear claws at your throat, but you thrust your spear, striking the beast's flank. Blood sprays steaming in the icy air. Others strike too, a rain of flint and bone. The bull bellows, staggering legs trembling. The ground quakes with its struggle. Then with one final groan, it falls. The sound is like thunder, cracking across the tundra. Snow erupts the herd trumpets in alarm, and then silence. The mammoth lies still, massive and magnificent, its life spent. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then the hunters' cheer voices, ragged but fierce. Triumph floods your veins. You have food. You have life. The work begins at once. Knives slice thick hide scrapers, peel fat axes, crack bones for marrow. The children will eat, the elders will live another season. The hide will become tents and boots. The sinew, bowstrings, the tusks tools. Nothing is wasted. The mammoth gives everything its body, a storehouse of survival. You kneel, pressing your palm to its side, murmuring thanks. Whether to spirits or to the beast itself, the words matter. Respect is as essential as hunger. Historians still debate whether these hunts were purely pragmatic or deeply spiritual. Some argue mammoth bones arranged in circles show ritual significance. Others say they were simply construction shelters, built from what was at hand. The truth might be both survival and meaning braided together, inseparable. Modern comparison. Think of it like landing a jackpot at the grocery store, but the jackpot is trying to kill you with tusks the size of trees, and your reward is hauling 5 tons of meat across the tundra without a shopping cart. Not exactly convenient, but infinitely more satisfying. By nightfall, the clan feasts. Fat sizzles in the fire meat, roasts on spits, marrow drips rich and warm. Children laugh with greasy faces, Elders sigh in relief. The hunger that haunted everyone for weeks eases, if only for now. Around the fire, songs rise praise for hunters, thanks for the mammoth prayers for another chance tomorrow. You lean back, belly full smoke curling into the starry sky. Your body aches, your hands sting with cuts, but joy hums in your chest. Today, you faced a giant and lived. The Ice Age is merciless, but tonight you have beaten it. And as sleep creeps in, you realize mammoth hunts are not just about food. They are about proof. Proof that humans small and fragile can defy the frozen world with nothing but firestone and courage. The feast of mammoth meat fades into memory as the days shorten. Winter presses harder now. Snow falls heavier, nights stretch longer, and the sun barely lifts above the horizon before sinking back into the dark. The world shrinks to white ground and black sky. Yet in that sky lies a map, and in the Ice Age, those glittering lights become more than decoration. They are guides, calendars, and stories etched above. You step outside the cave one evening, belly still warmed by fire, and tilt your head back. The stars blaze with ruthless clarity, cold and sharp. They look close enough to touch, though you know they are beyond any spear's reach. For the clan, they are not silent ornaments. They are signposts. Some elders point to clusters and murmur of seasons when the mammoths will return, when rivers will thaw, when storms will come. Others weave myths telling of hunters frozen in the sky, forever chasing beasts across the heavens. Historians still argue about whether Ice Age people truly mapped the stars or simply admired them. Some carvings on bone and antler resemble constellations' patterns of dots aligned with known star clusters. The famous caves of Lascaux may even depict the Pleiades and Orion. If true, then long before telescopes humans carried the universe in their minds, using it to measure time in a world without clocks. The clan gathers outside, breath misting upward. An elder lifts a charred stick pointing skyward. His voice rasps. When that cluster rises, the herds move. When that hunter falls, the ice softens. Children gape, memorizing shapes. To them, the stars are not distant fireballs, but family animals, spirits, ancestors. A mammoth arcs across the horizon, tusks glowing faint in the dark. A great bear lumbers overhead. A line of hunters marches eternally. Quirky fact archaeologists once found a mammoth bone tablet etched with dots possibly recording lunar cycles. If true Ice Age people tracked the moon's rhythm to predict migrations or seasons. Imagine scratching the heavens into bone, carrying the sky in your pocket. You trace the stars with your eyes, connecting them into shapes. Some look like predators crouching in wait, others like fires scattered by careless spirits. The longer you stare, the less the cold bites. The vastness above reminds you that life is more than hunger. It is pattern rhythm order, hidden in chaos. Yet the stars are not only myths, they are tools. On long migrations, when snow buries landmarks and rivers freeze the sky, guides you. One cluster marks north, another the turn of spring. Hunters learn to move not just by tracks on the ground, but by constellations overhead. The sky becomes the ultimate map. Always there, never erased by storm. Scholars still debate whether this knowledge was shared only by shamans or passed to every clan member. Some argue the complexity of star patterns points to specialists. Others believe survival demanded everyone know at least a few. Out here, ignorance kills quickly. If the sky offers clues, you learn them or you starve. The firelight fades behind you as you lie on your back, snow seeping cold through furs. Above, the stars pulse like watchful eyes. You imagine them as ancestors, countless souls who walked before now frozen in the heavens guarding the living. You whisper to them, breath white against black. Perhaps they hear, perhaps not, but speaking feels necessary. Modern comparison. It's like scrolling. Google Maps, except the roads are glowing dots and the you are here. Marker is a fire that might go out any second. No recalculating routes, no satellites, just bone memory and faith that the sky keeps its promises. The clan begins to sing softly voices, blending with the hiss of wind. It is not a song of triumph, like the mammoth feast, but one of endurance. Notes rise and fall like footsteps, steady, endless. Each voice carries upward, as if to stitch the people to the stars themselves. Children drowse leaning against mothers. Hunters watch the sky with weary eyes, memorizing patterns like secret codes. The night deepens. The stars seem to shift, sliding in arcs too slow for the eye, yet steady in their rhythm. The world may freeze and crack, but the sky endures. Tomorrow you will march again following tracks across snow. But tonight you follow constellations across blackness. One map lies beneath your feet, the other above your head. Together, they keep you moving. As sleep creeps in, you realize something. The Ice Age is not just about surviving day to day. It is about connection to earth, to beast, to sky. When your footprints fade, the stars remain. And in their cold fire, you glimpse eternity. The stars fade with dawn, and the cold comes back sharper than ever. The wind screams across the plain, flinging snow into your eyes. The clan trudges forward, heads bowed, but the storm is merciless. The ground disappears beneath white drifts. The horizon vanishes into haze, and suddenly the Ice Age shows its cruelest face. Out here, the danger isn't just hunger or predators, it's the sky itself. One wrong step, and the storm buries you alive. The snow deepens quickly, swirling in whirlwinds. Children stumble, elders falter, and every breath scalds your throat with frost. You wrap your fur tighter, but the cold slithers through, gnawing your bones. The hunters argue whether to keep moving or find shelter. To stop in the open is death. To walk blind into the storm may be worse. Still, you push on, following the faint outline of the leader's back, trusting footsteps more than sight. Historians still argue about how Ice Age clans survived blizzards. Some believe they dug snow shelters, carving shallow caves in drifts and huddling inside. Others point to evidence of mammoth bone huts covered in hides sturdy enough to withstand gales. Either way, improvisation was life. Nature offered no mercy, only challenges to outwit. Hours crawl by. The storm grows louder, muffling voices, erasing trails. You feel the panic rising. If the footprints vanish, so does the clan. Isolation here means death in minutes. Just as despair grips, a hunter shouts. Ahead, a ridge looms, its side cut with a shallow hollow. The clan rushes toward it, digging frantically, hands clawing snow spears, scraping ice. Within moments, you carve out a crude shelter, a belly in the storm. One by one, the clan squeezes inside, huddling in the dark. Quirky, modern Arctic hunters still build snow shelters using packed drifts to block wind. Inside, temperatures can rise dramatically even while the outside blizzard howls at sub-zero fury. The Ice Age clans likely discovered the same trick. Snow, enemy of life, can also be protector. Inside, the air is close, heavy with sweat and smoke from a struggling fire. Breath fogs the cramped space, dripping from the roof in icy rivulets. Children whimper. Elders cough, hunters curse under their breath. Yet slowly, warmth grows. The storm rages outside, but here inside your hollow, a fragile pocket of life persists. Hours pass. Hunger gnaws. Someone passes around strips of frozen meat, chewed like leather, swallowed with effort. The taste is faint, the relief temporary, but it keeps you alive. The fire sputters smoke, stinging your eyes. In the gloom, someone begins to hum, then another joins. Soon, a low chant fills the shelter. The storm may bury the world, but sound digs a tunnel of hope. Scholars still debate whether blizzards claimed more lives than predators. Bones found in shallow graves suggest sudden deaths, whole families perishing together. Some believe storms inspired myths of angry spirits, giants of wind and ice that hunted humans like wolves. Listening to the roar outside, you understand why. The storm feels alive, enraged, intent on crushing you. Your mind drifts as you fight sleep. Visions dance in the flicker of fire, a mammoth charging through snow wolves, with ice in their eyes, ancestors reaching from frozen ground. You blink, shaking off dread. Sleep is dangerous here. If the fire dies and no one wakes to feed it, the clan will freeze silently, buried in white. And so, you force yourself awake, feeding twigs, whispering prayers to the flames. Modern comparison. Think of it, like being snowed into an airport overnight, except there's no vending machine, no heated seats, and no chance the storm clears before morning. Your only Wi-Fi is the howling wind, and the only entertainment is praying the roof doesn't collapse on your head. At last, the storm eases. The howling softens, the snow settles. Hunters crawl outside, first blinking against pale light. The world is transformed. Hills have shifted valleys, filled landmarks erased. It is as though the storm has redrawn the map overnight. The camp emerges cautiously, shaking off frost, stamping stiff legs. Relief surges, you survived. The storm failed to bury you, but the memory lingers. The Ice Age is not only teeth and tusks. It is the sky itself turning against you. The wind, a predator more relentless than any cat. And though you escape this time, you know storms will come again, each one a test of your will. As the clan sets off once more, you glance back at the hollow in the ridge. Soon, the snow will swallow it, completely erasing every trace of your refuge. But you carry it in your mind, proof that even in the teeth of the Ice Age, you can carve a pocket of warmth, a heartbeat against the void. The storm passes, but its memory clings like frostbite. Every step forward feels heavier, each breath a reminder of how close the clan came to being swallowed whole. To lift spirits, to make sense of dangers too vast to control the people, turn again to fire, not just for warmth or cooking, but for ritual. Around firelight, survival becomes ceremony. As dusk falls, the clan gathers. A circle forms, as it always does. Bodies pressed close, shadows stretching along the snow. Sparks shoot upward, as if carrying whispers to the heavens. Tonight's fire is different, larger, brighter, fed not only with wood, but with meaning. Elders step forward, hands raised, voices low. They speak to the flames as if to an old friend, an ally who has fought beside them since the first frozen night. Historians still argue about when humans first treated fire as sacred. Some see it as practical necessity, others as divine gift. Yet archaeological sites tell a story. Fire pits, carefully arranged ashes, preserved in circles, bones burned deliberately. Fire wasn't just used, it was honored. In the Ice Age, anything that kept you alive demanded reverence. One elder sprinkles powdered ochre into the flames. The fire flares, red sparks dancing higher. Children gasp, eyes wide. To them, it is magic. To you, it is proof that color and light married together stir awe. Another hunter tosses in mammoth fat the flames, leaping greedily, smoke billowing thick. The air grows heavy, pungent, almost intoxicating. The clan sways with the rhythm of the fire, as if hypnotized. Quirky fact, some researchers suggest that rituals around fire may have involved trance states. The flicker of flames, the drumbeat of hands, the chant of voices together, they create a rhythm that pulls minds into other worlds. Perhaps shamans traveled there seeking guidance, or perhaps the ritual was simply a way to drown out fear. A shaman steps forward, cloaked in furs, face smeared with soot and ash. Antlers crown his head shadows, turning him half human, half beast. His voice rises in guttural song words, twisting into sounds older than speech. The clan joins in a low chant, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ground itself seems to vibrate. You close your eyes, the rhythm carrying you. For a moment, you are no longer in the Ice Age. You are elsewhere, running with mammoths, soaring with birds, swimming with fish beneath frozen rivers. The ritual grows wilder. Hunters stamp their feet, mimicking the thunder of herds. Children squeal, pretending to be wolves circling. The shaman leaps arms, flung wide, his shadow enormous against the cave wall. Sparks rain down, harmless, but mesmerizing. The fire roars, answering the people. In this dance of flame and flesh, the boundary between survival and meaning dissolves. Historians still debate the purpose of such rituals. Were they prayers for a successful hunt, celebrations of survival, acts of gratitude? Or were they purely communal bonding, a way to bind clan members through shared ecstasy? Perhaps they were all of these at once. In the Ice Age, practical and spiritual were the same language. You join the chant, your voice cracking your feet, stomping in rhythm. Sweat prickles your brow despite the cold. Your chest heaves, your heart pounds, and yet you feel lighter, as if some invisible burden has lifted. For the first time since the storm, laughter ripples through the clan, wild, unrestrained, echoing off stone. Fire has not only warmed you, it has remade you. Modern comparison. Imagine a rock concert in a blackout. No speakers, no instruments, just voices and fire. The beat isn't electronic, but bone against hide. The lights aren't neon, but sparks and shadows. And yet the energy, the sense of being swept into something larger is the same. Humanity doesn't need amplifiers to find ecstasy. As the ritual peaks, the shaman lowers his arms. The chants slow, the stomps fade. The fire crackles softer, now shrinking back into itself. The clan breathes heavily, bodies trembling, faces shining with sweat and ash. Children yawn, elders smile faintly. The storm outside feels distant, its teeth dulled. Before sleep, the shaman scatters more ochre into the flames, whispering words no one quite understands. Perhaps they are prayers, perhaps nonsense, perhaps both. The sparks rise into the night, vanishing among the stars. You watch until the last ember fades, then curl into your furs. The Ice Age has taken much warmth, safety, peace, but it cannot take fire. Fire remains your companion, your guardian, your stage. Around it, you are not just survivors. You are singers, dancers, storytellers, dreamers. Fire turns fear into ritual, hunger into song, survival into meaning. And as long as the flames burn, so too does hope. The clan wakes to pale light, the fire smoldering low. Ash drifts in the cold air, and the ground outside crunches beneath stiff frost. Another day in the Ice Age begins not with triumph or ritual, but with the sound of children laughing. Their voices pierce the silence like birdsong in winter, reminding everyone that life, even here, still insists on joy. The children tumble in the snow, chasing one another with sticks, their bare feet wrapped in scraps of hide. They shriek, fall, rise, and fall again, faces red with cold eyes bright with play. To outsiders, it would look reckless, even cruel. But to the clan, this is training. In every chase, every stumble, they are learning balance on ice endurance, in cold courage, in fear. Childhood in the Ice Age is not a luxury, it is preparation. Historians still argue about how Ice Age children lived. Some evidence shows tiny footprints preserved in caves wandering alongside adults. Did children help gather firewood, fetch water, and scare game into traps? Or were they sheltered until strong enough to hunt? The truth is likely both. They worked when they could, played when they must, and grew up far faster than children today. A boy drags a stick through the snow, pretending to spear a mammoth. His friends cheer as he kills the beast, then collapse giggling. An elder watches, nodding approval. Pretend games here are not idle fantasy, they are rehearsals for survival. Play becomes practice, preparing them for hunts, for storms, for danger. Childhood itself is a school, and the lessons are written in ice and bone. Quirky fact: archaeologists have found small tools shaped like toys, miniature spears, tiny carvings, even small drums. Were they toys for children or teaching tools? Likely both. A child's plaything might also be their first weapon, their first instrument, their first step into the adult world. You watch as a girl kneels by the fire, carefully striking flint against stone. Sparks leap, fail, then catch. The clan cheers softly. She grins with pride, eyes glowing brighter than the flame she coaxed. This is her rite of passage, not grand ceremony, but the small victories that prove she can endure. Tomorrow, she will try again stronger. The clan gathers around the children, passing down knowledge. Elders tell them which berries to avoid, which tracks belong to wolves, which rivers freeze too thin. Mothers show them how to sew hides with bone needles, their hands guiding small fingers. Fathers lift them onto shoulders, pointing out constellations in the night sky. Childhood is not a pause from life. It is life itself, unfolding faster than the seasons. Historians still debate infant survival rates in the Ice Age. Evidence suggests many children never reached adulthood. Illness, predators, hunger all cut lives short. Yet each child that survived was a miracle, a promise carried forward. That is why the clan protects them fiercely, even when resources are scarce. Every laugh in the snow is a victory against extinction. As the day wanes, the children gather around the fire once more. They beg for stories, for songs, for games. An elder hums a lullaby voice, trembling but steady. The melody weaves through the smoke, soft and haunting. Children lean against parents' eyelids, drooping the day's play, giving way to dreams. Modern comparison. Think of it like sending kids to school, where recess is training for survival, math is measuring footprints, and science is learning which mushrooms won't kill you. No exams, no grades, just the constant test of staying alive another day. Childhood here is not about cartoons and birthday cakes. It's about growing fast enough to face a world that doesn't wait. You sit by the fire, watching the children drift to sleep. Their faces are peaceful, soft, despite the harshness around them. They are proof that even in the Ice Age, joy exists. The world may freeze storms, may bury predators, may stalk, but children still laugh, still dream, still grow. And as you listen to their breathing steady and warm in the dark, you realize something: the Ice Age is not just about survival of the fittest. It is about survival of the smallest. Every child is a fragile ember. Protect them, and the fire of humanity continues. Let them fade, and the darkness wins. Tomorrow, the clan will march again, the children stumbling alongside, learning with every step. But tonight, in the glow of fire, they are safe. For now, the Ice Age cannot touch them. The dawn comes gray and brittle. The fire is nearly gone, just a smear of smoke against the cold air. Hunger returns quickly, like a shadow reminding the clan that yesterday's feast is already fading. It is time to move. The long migration begins that endless march across a land that never softens, only shifts. You pull furs tight and step into the snow. Behind you, the children shuffle, clutching sticks and bundles, while elders lean on spears for balance. Hunters walk ahead, scanning the horizon. The migration is not a choice, it is law. Herds move rivers, shift seasons, change, and humans must follow. To stay is to die. Historians still argue about how far Ice Age clans traveled. Some sites suggest short circuits between caves, others hint at journeys spanning hundreds of miles. But one thing is clear: people rarely stayed long in one place. The world demanded movement, and those who obeyed lived longer. The march is grueling. Snow crunches underfoot, wind slices cheeks raw, and the horizon never seems closer. Every muscle aches, every breath burns. You trudge on one step, then another, until time itself feels like walking. Days blur into nights, nights into days, the sky an endless wheel of stars turning above. Along the way, dangers stalk. Wolves trail from a distance, yellow eyes gleaming, waiting for weakness. Thin ice cracks underfoot, soaking boots, freezing skin. Once the clan finds a body half buried in snow, a lone traveler, stiff as stone face, twisted in final terror. The children are hurried past, but the lesson remains: wander alone, and you join the dead. Quirky fact: archaeologists studying Ice Age migration routes found evidence of trails marked with bones or fires, crude signals for others who might follow. These were the world's first road signs, pointing not to cities or inns, but to survival itself. The march continues. At night, the clan collapses in circles, fires sputtering weekly food rationed in scraps. Sleep comes shallow, broken by wind and fear. Yet in the morning, everyone rises, because the only thing worse than walking is not walking. The migration is not just physical, it is spiritual. Elders murmur prayers to the land, asking the earth to carry their feet, the sky to light their way. Hunters sing to the animals they pursue, promising respect for the kill. Children invent games, pretending the stars are stepping stones, each one bringing them closer to warmth. Every step becomes story, every mile a lesson. Scholars still debate how clans coordinated migrations. Some suggest scouts ran ahead, mapping paths, while others say the entire group moved cautiously together. Evidence of shared camps hints at alliances, groups joining forces during long treks. Survival was not just about endurance, but about cooperation, sharing fire, sharing knowledge, sharing hope. Your legs burn, your throat cracks, but you keep walking. You think of the mammoth hunt, the cave paintings, the songs by fire. Each memory is fuel, a reminder of why the clan moves. Not for comfort, not for rest, but for the chance of another day. Modern comparison. Imagine moving house every month, but instead of trucks and boxes, you have mammoth hide bundles on your back, predators circling, and no guarantee your next home isn't already occupied by bears. The real estate market of the Ice Age is brutal. At last, after days that feel like years, the clan crests a ridge. Below lies a valley sheltered from the worst winds, a river frozen, but glimmering trees clustered like dark sentinels. Relief surges. Here, at least for now, there will be food, water, and shelter. The migration pauses, though everyone knows it is only temporary. The fires are lit, tents of hide-raised meat dried. Children laugh again, chasing one another through drifts. Hunters scout the forest edge, scanning for tracks. Elders sigh with relief, settling by the flames. The clan has survived another march. As you sit, legs aching, heart pounding, you realize something. The Ice Age is not about destination. It is about movement itself. To walk is to live. To stop is to vanish. The long migration is not just survival. It is humanity's heartbeat pounding across the frozen world, step by step, into the unknown.